Hello, welcome to the Client Catching Podcast. Now, regular listeners to the show will be pretty familiar with me banging on about how important it is to deeply understand why your clients buy your services if you want to attract more of them. That you need to think like the fish, not the fisherman, because you can't catch a fish with chocolate cake even if you love it, because fish loves worm, right? Now, at the same time, you need to apply this thinking when it comes to attracting, catching, and growing your client base. But this isn't easy to do. It can be time consuming, and other things, they generally take priority. So it gets left to guesswork and chance far more often than not. But what if there was a way to combine getting this kind of deep client understanding while at the same time reducing friction in your sales process and driving more revenue by utilizing what can only be described as the ultimate conversion trigger for your business? That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Then if you think so, make sure you stay tuned, because my guest today is going to show you a system where your clients essentially sell for you using engaging social proof that converts prospects into paid customers. He's a serial entrepreneur in the video marketing space and currently the founder and CEO of Testimonial Hero, the customer video company that helps B2B marketing leaders better communicate value through the voice of the customer to reduce friction in the sales process and drive more revenue faster. And as not only do we all love to hear what other people say about us, and especially when it's nice things, also the best way to convince prospects that they should buy from you is having your existing and past clients do it for you. So you're going to absolutely get a ton of value from today's episode. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome my guest today, Sam Shepler, onto the show. So Sam, welcome to the Client Catching Podcast.
Thanks, Adam. It's great to be here.
You're absolutely welcome. And barring a mini sort of disaster just before we jumped on, I spilt my tea all over my desk, and I got in here and I was a little bit all over the place. So I'm glad that we are having the conversation, because what we're going to cover is I mean, we've already had a bit of a conversation around this, and you and I can probably geek out on this for hours, but we've got a small window of opportunity to do this. So why don't we just sort of start out? When it comes to, I mean, what I loved when we had the first conversation was how you described what you do as being the voice of the customer. So what does for the voice of the customer mean to you?
Absolutely. So, you know, I think it's really about, similar to think like a fish. You have to, give fish what they want. It's the same thing with prospects and buyers, right? You have to, give them what they want, and increasingly that is to hear directly from the voice of the customer, right? And so it really comes down to, buyers want to hear directly from their peers. They've heard a lot from your sales team. That's helpful sometimes. Your own content is helpful, but at the end of the day, as buyers, we all want to hear from our peers. And when I talk about voice of the customer, that's what I mean. Really, it's all about harnessing the voice of the customer to make all of your sales and marketing more effective.
Because we can say as much as we like about ourselves, but there is no one more powerful than other people doing it for us. And I think we live in a world at the moment where there is so much noise, so much going on, and we can effectively say what we like about ourselves. And when it comes to that, and when we're giving the sales message, there's always the understanding that the person doing the selling has something to gain. And what I love about what you guys are doing is that you're actually flipping that, and you are giving the voice of the customer to actually help other people understand the value in what it is that a customer does. And actually, I don't know, do you think it could replace theoretically doing any other form of marketing?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think there will always be a place, for more traditional marketing. But I think what we're seeing is a increasing need, and for to increase that voice of the customer content Another term, I like to use is advocate marketing. So, we're seeing an increasing need to make that a higher percentage because it frankly just works really well. There was a study by Gartner recently that said 70% of B2B buyers, agree that customer stories are actually, the best way for, them as buyers to actually understand, differentiation in a credible way. So, if I'm buying a B2B service or product, I'm trying to understand, okay, like, what does this do? How is it different? And, trying to understand, where it fits in the marketplace. Hearing directly from a customer is incredibly helpful there. And as a buyer, I know I can trust that, right? I don't think it's never going to replace completely, but increasingly we're already seeing that the best marketers and the best revenue teams really, upping that, percentage of customer content as opposed to, their internal content.
Yeah, and I kind of loaded the question that was, could it replace the whole marketing? Obviously we still need other things that go with it. But I think where I was going with that is I don't see enough people leading with it. And I don't
Mm.
see enough people really understanding the power behind a customer story. Because that's what you do. I mean, your company is called Testimonial Hero, and that might sort of spring off some, thoughts or ideas about what it is that you do. So before we go into, other things, why don't you sort of give a kind of overview of what you guys do and the process that's involved in it?
Yeah, absolutely. And um, one thing I'll say is yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. Why there's a lot of stats out there, around like the power of advocate marketing and customer voice, leveraging customer voice. So maybe that's something we can dig into later. Is like, okay, if it's sort of common sense, plus we have the data to back it up, that it works. Why aren't more people leading with it? It's a really interesting question. I have some kind of theories on there.
Definitely.
Um, and yeah, so for Testimonial Hero, our focus is really customer video. So, broadly speaking, all types of customer voice are important, but increasingly, video is just the best way to, the preferred way to consume information, in the B2B buying process. Um, 70% of B2B buyers, research potential purchases by watching videos, according to Google, who definitely has the data on that. 90% of customers, report videos help them make purchasing decisions, according to HubSpot. And generally speaking, companies that use customer videos have a 34% higher conversion rate. So there's many types of social proof and effective advocate marketing, but we just feel like video is a great and is bang for your buck, is just pound for pound is the most powerful thing. And yeah, we're completely focused on really taking something that can be a little bit complex and just simplifying it and making it frictionless, both for our clients as well as their customers who have to appear in the video, because that is incredibly important, right? When you ask a customer to do a sort of advocacy activity, whether it's filling out a review online on a G2 or a similar site, or appearing in a video testimonial, ultimately you want to make it as frictionless as possible. Even better, you want to make it a two-way exchange of value, right? Which is another thing we can potentially talk about. But basically, you always want your advocacy. One quick snack tip is like, think of how can I make my advocacy activities that I'm getting my customer base to do a two-way exchange of value, where my customer also gets value, and that could even just be okay, they get some, career capital by appearing in the video. You hold them up to be a real expert in a spotlight, and shine the spotlight on them, make them the hero of the story. It looks really great. They can share it, in their network, and it just makes them look awesome. And that's just one example
Mm.
of a way to, uh, you know, kind of make that two-way exchange of value. But I think that's critical. Is we whenever we're asking for customers for advocacy activities, how can we make that a two-way exchange of value is an
Mm.
incredibly powerful question.
Yeah, and it always has to be, doesn't it? It's not a question of, right, well, we've delivered you a service, you liked it, therefore you kind of owe us, because there's already been a mutual exchange of value. Like, currency has been exchanged, that kind of thing. So, it's there. So you kind of almost have to start at the beginning when you're asking for the next step. And that's a great example of two-way value. Another example that springs to my mind is if you are the client of someone that also serves similar kind of clients and customers, you get to kind of get in front of maybe their customers by talking about their experience with you, but also how it's then improved, say, their process, their systems, or whatever it is that helps to get their clients results, because you're working in a B2B space. So there is, that kind of exponential networking impact that could happen as a result. I mean, have you found that something that can happen?
I do. Yes, absolutely. I think another one is, in addition to that, is sort of, the value of making, someone sort of like an insider in terms of the, shaping the product roadmap, right? That is, people like to, obviously, like, it's if you can make someone feel like they have a voice, and genuinely do that, make them part of, sort of like that advocate community. And now we're sort of talking a little bit about like communities, and that's another key part of advocacy. But yeah, like, just kind of giving them a voice, giving them an inside view, and being like, look, like, we really appreciate you doing this, and there's an expectation that, like, as an advocate, they now have a voice for, and you genuinely are going to rely on them to really shape the product roadmap for the future. And that's very valuable, not only because it helps them get a product that's better, but it's just really intrinsically rewarding to be able
Mm.
to influence things like that.
Yeah, well, when it's kind of like that psychological thing, when you feel that you have ownership of something or you're part of its creation, you feel more attached to it. It's kind of like that whole thing when people talk about IKEA furniture. The reason
Hmm.
why people are so attached to IKEA furniture isn't because necessarily it's the most beautiful piece of furniture. It's because it took you blooming 3.5 hours to make it, because you got to step 22 and realized you'd screwed up on step 14 and had to go back and redo it again and all that kind of thing. So you were invested in the creation of it. And that's why, I mean, I don't know if that is part of the reason IKEA has become what it has, but it's a similar kind of thing, isn't it? It's, if you are feeling part of either a creation or an evolution of something, then you are more likely to stay engaged. So, yeah, I think that's a very interesting point. So, I mean, the focus really of what you guys do, it's pulling out, for layman's terms, testimonials from a client. But it's far more than that, and you do it via video. You do, pre-COVID, a little bit now, sort of in person, but you also do it remotely. But it's far more than a testimonial, isn't it? And why don't you sort of give us an example of something like what the end product looked like for somebody if they have gone through the process with you guys? What do they get at the end?
Absolutely. So yes, it's we really believe in that customer video, whether you call it a video testimonial or a video case study, or video success story, whatever you want to call it. It's not just a checkpoint that you use, like, at a, once you're trying to push a deal over the line, though it can be very effective in that respect. It's really not just like a mid funnel checkpoint. the idea is, and my core belief, and really the driving belief, that really drives everything we do, is that the more you can, kind of sprinkle, customer voice, specifically, ideally in the form of customer video, throughout the buyer journey, the easier, sales and becomes. And ultimately, what is the purpose of B2B marketing if not to make sales easier, right? That's, really the entire purpose of B2B marketing, in my opinion. And what makes sales easier? Well, first, I think you have to have a great website, right? That goes without saying. Once you have and obviously you have to have a great product and a great offer, but like, once you have a great website, like you need great social proof, and you need great customer stories, because that's just gonna that just reduces friction like so much in the sales process. It's crazy. Like, in that's when I speak to our customers, that's what they say. We feel it ourselves. We get on calls with people, and we always one call close in general, because before the call, they took the time to review our 10 plus customer testimonials and customer videos. So like they already like have heard directly from our customers, and like just speeds up the sales process like so much. It's honestly it's just kind of so effective, right? And that ultimately that's why I do it, right? And that's why our customers do it, is like thinking back, going back to your whole metaphor, which I love. It's like, think like a fish, right? Give the fish what they want, give the fish what they value. So the fish, the prospects, like they don't necessarily value like another white paper, especially in today, right? But they do value short, engaging, authentic customer videos that are specific, and really give them insight to how people like them are seeing success with your product or service. So yeah, it's really that simple. It's like, think like a fish, and today the fish want authentic customer videos.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's so many things that I can see use cases for this, which may or may not be what some of your clients have done. But things like the boring FAQ page on a website. Well, if every commonly asked or frequently asked question was actually answered by a customer or a client, then how powerful is that? Like, that's amazing. Like that would be a massive differentiator, and you'd have that constantly kind of selling for you 24/7, frequently asked questions. Well, we can answer them, or we can actually share the experience of a customer or a client that has gone through the process and bought with us and all that kind of thing. Watch what they have to say.
Yeah.
I think
that's massive. That's a massive value. Yeah.
I mean, just think how much, depending on the size of business or anything like that. But I mean, my mind goes towards the opportunity here with every business, that if you have your 10 most commonly answered questions or asked questions, and you are able to get an answer essentially from a customer that's already been through, like, objection handling gone kind of thing. It's like, I mean, that's, maybe it comes back, do you need any other form of marketing? I don't know. But there's so much in there as well. But I mean, if somebody's hearing that and thinks, oh, okay, that's not a bad idea, I just don't know how to go about doing it. I mean, do you have any ideas or tips for anyone that was thinking, right, okay, I get this, I like the idea of it, but I just don't know where to start. How am I even going to get my client to agree to do this? And then second, how am I actually going to physically do the videos? What questions do I ask? Have you got any tips on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, those are both, great questions. I think, for getting clients to agree, there's a couple things. I think the first thing is, make the ask as simple as possible, right? So, make it, remove any reasons, why they would say no, essentially, right? So, don't ask them for, several hours, ask them for a quick 30-minute, video call that you can, even just record via Zoom. That's a great way to kind of get started. So, step one is, make it easy to say yes to. Don't make it a crazy ask, um, especially if you're getting started. Um, so, and I should mention, I mean, that's really, we do on-site videos as well, which are obviously, a bigger ask. We're sending videographers, to, offices. We have a, global network of these videographers, but even then, we only ask for 1 hour of calendar time with the, interviewee. So,
Yeah.
no matter, what method you do, you want to be, thinking about, how can I make this as easy as possible, right? Secondly, I always, let people know that, they'll have a chance to, absolutely review everything before it's published, right? Just a simple, basic thing, but like it helps assuage people's, potential, hesitations, right? Um, and and then, anything that you can do to make it very clear that this isn't, um, just about you as the marketer. It's really to shine a spotlight on them and celebrate them as an expert in their field. Goes a long way, right? And that can be, kind of implied, or that can be, explicit. But the idea being, if people understand that you want to hold them up as like a, sometimes I hear the term like lighthouse account. So like one of our like customers who's, just really, example of like just knocking it out of the park, innovating with our solution. People like to be held up, in their industry as an expert. So yeah, if you can do those three things, to recap, make it super simple. It could be, if you're getting started, it could just be like a 30-minute Zoom recording. And let them know they'll have a chance to approve everything. Nothing's going to get, published before they give it the okay. And then lastly, don't forget to make it clear that, kind of implied or, explicit, this is going to be, hopefully valuable for them too, in terms of like a, personal and career kind of PR. And then the question becomes, okay, what questions am I going to ask them? Right. Cause good questions, it's sort of the garbage in, garbage out thing. Right. There's a saying in kind of, marketing and programming. It's like, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken bleep. So, you have
Or as we say in the UK, you can't put lipstick on a pig. That's one that we say. But it's the same process.
Same process. So it's all about, when you actually have that, opportunity, asking the right questions to get really good content that you can then, purpose create multiple versions of throughout the buyer journey. So basically, good questions, good answers. The inverse is also true. You want to start with really good, raw materials to work from. So basically, those are the, the things that I would kind of leave people with.
Yeah, and if anyone is still sort of thinking, okay, well, maybe I need some examples of these questions. I know you've got a great resource that people can go to, which is on your website, and we'll give out the link at the end. But definitely go and have a look at this resource, because it's what is it? It's the 15 questions to ask to get great stories from your customers, or something like that, isn't it?
Exactly. So yeah, so it's a framework that you can kind of plug in, your brand name and your customer's name, and you have the 15 best questions that we've used in over 200 B2B customer interviews, customer video interviews. So yeah, basically, if you're not sure where to start, grab that framework, grab that template. And I think that will get you, extremely far. And then you can even add a couple kind of custom questions to that.
Yeah, so definitely, yeah, we'll get the URL at the end. But there's a couple of things I just want to sort of like come back to just for clarity. And one of them is the most simple way. And if sometimes I think that we as humans, we as people in business and all this, we kind of turn ourselves in knots by overcomplicating things. And if you're sort of thinking, how do I get somebody to agree to do this? Well, the simple answer is just ask. Like if you've got customers and clients that are happy, as you said, just make the ask simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Hey, I know we got some amazing results for you, and I'm so glad that we were able to add value to you. I'd love if we could just get on a Zoom call and we can have a conversation about your experience. Are you up for that? Boom. Like it's not a difficult ask. Some people will be afraid of being on camera. All right, well, we'll keep the camera on and all the rest of it. Don't worry. We have ways of being able to edit it so that you're not actually on the camera. We'll use some fancy motion graphics and all the rest of it, some music, and blah, 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 blah. We just want to capture your story. Like there's another option. There's so many options that you can do. So don't, I find that with any of this kind of thing, the simplest thing is to just think about who are the kind of clients that you love working with, that you would love to go and, you're quite happy to go and have a beer with. Give them a call and say, I'm doing this. Are you up for it? It's quite simple.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. And I think the way that you sort of, phrased it was really good. In terms of like, you don't have to like overcomplicate the first ask. Just maybe like 3 or 4 lines in a short email. And I like to, say something. I like the phrase, would you be open to, or like including that? And I like you had something similar that I also really liked, but it's just like, hi, Mr. Customer, saw that you had some really good, I'm so happy about, something that happened, or, saw you had some, love this new feature. Quick favor to ask of you, would you be open to, just a quick 30-minute conversation, talking about your experience, using, our solution. No big deal either way, but if you'd be open to that, I would really appreciate it. And something like that.
Easy as that.
And yeah, I think another thing to that point is there's no, you don't have to ask them for, you don't have to use the testimonial word. You can just, ask them to talk about, their experience, and what, and you can even say, talk about your experience, as well as, give a little bit of feedback. So, that's just one thing. Like if you're hung up on like, making it feel too formal, don't use the word testimonial and just ask them to talk about their experience.
Because what you've just sort of touched in there, whether that's knowingly or unknowingly, but for me, this is the real power in what you guys are doing for your clients, and the real power in the voice of the customer and the customer story, and that you're looking for feedback. You're looking to understand the experience. And what that allows you to do is really get an understanding of some of the things that are really good with what you're doing. You will find out things that were not so good. That you will understand things that happen during your sales process that you are like, I never realized that they valued that. We need to put that a little bit more front and center when we are having conversations. So as a marketer, and there's always that kind of, cats and dogs, sales and marketing and B2B businesses and all the rest of it. If you're doing this as a marketer and you find something out from a customer from doing one of these, you can then go to your sales team and go, look, we didn't realize this, and maybe you didn't realize it, but this client has just spoken about this particular part of the process that they absolutely loved, but we don't talk about it at all, whatever. I suggest you lead with this kind of thing, and for the life of me right now, I cannot think of an actual example, but I'm hoping you're starting to see where you can go with it, because you get this feedback. It's constant real time. So you're building an asset and an asset base of customer voices and customer stories, while at the same time, it's giving you the ability to actually improve everything you do before they even become a client. And I don't think that is something that people always think about when it comes to this kind of thing. They think, oh, well, I just need a testimonial to, show that somebody has got nice things to say about us, right? But the power is so much there's so much more in it, which is what I love what you guys do. I think it's awesome.
100%. And like, yeah, like you said, that um, you can learn about, new ways to completely revolutionize, how you deliver your solution. You can learn about, new ways to market and sell that, you can pick up on, oh, wow, we were using, this term, and this is what we thought the chief value was. But then, after talking to customers and getting these customer videos, we've learned that customers use this verbiage and they love this term. And this is just like what's resonating with them. So yeah, it's really, there's just so many aspects, that, you can derive value from. I think the only, challenge then becomes is like, well, how do you still keep it, short, right? Or relatively short. And yeah,
I
then that
guess
also
that's
comes
where
down to just
a
good
system
questions.
comes in, a good system of questions, and it's not just right. We're just going to fire up Zoom and I'm just going to have a chat. No, this isn't like that. You actually have to have a strategic approach to this. So if you're going for, let's use the previous example where you're looking for the 10 answers to the 10 most asked questions, you would need to structure your questions around that, or you would need to be able to select the clients that you would be talking to in a way that that they went through part of that, and that would form part of the actual questioning. So that's something you would need to think about. So it's not something that you would necessarily just go and do. You would sort of need a little bit of time to think, right, what am I doing? What do I want to get out from a story perspective? And there's one other use case that I can think of here as well. As if we haven't got enough of them. I mean, if anyone's still listening, well done for listening to us geek out, but why aren't you going out and doing it? It's that kind of thing. But there's so many cases here. I can just think that after, again, you're always thinking, what's the next step? So after you've done one of these testimonials or story interviews or anything, and when you've got the finished product and you show it to your client, you could simply email it, or you could say, let's have a bit of a watch party, right? Why don't we view this together? You celebrate it with them. Wasn't that awesome? Excellent. Now, considering all that experience that you've had and what you've just explained, is there anyone in a situation that you were in before that you can think of that might find what we do valuable? And why don't we just brainstorm a couple of people, and maybe then we could make an introduction? Like, that's taking that beyond, and it goes, yeah. There's so many use cases for this. As I say, it can replace all your marketing. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny because so for the first, we're about to go into our fourth year of Testimonial Hero. I think for the first year, we didn't have a blog. All we did, maybe it was the first year and a half, that was all of our marketing. And, we were able to grow the company significantly, 400%, over those 2 years. So we actually, basically, that was all we did. Like, bare minimum is like, we just did projects for clients and we got testimonials from them. And then that was literally all we did. Plus our, obviously, and we did a lot of cold outreach and used those testimonials in our sales function. Right. So I think that's another thing that, is a, probably a separate episode, but it's like, when you have a sales team, how do you operationalize these customer videos for sales enablement? Because that is just a huge opportunity. Whenever you have, there's nothing better than a customer video when, if you need to follow up with someone or reactivate someone, because prospects will always take a look at another customer, right? They might not always, care about, your latest blog post that you wrote, but they'll always take a look at like what a peer or, someone similar to them has to say. So yeah, just from a sales enablement perspective, I think, that is a big opportunity that we all as marketers, can take advantage of.
Yeah. And as you say, I mean, we could probably fill, another episode with all sorts of other use cases and ideas for this. But I think the smartest thing to do is first to go and find out a little bit more about what you do. Go and get hold of the download that you offer. So why don't you tell us where to go and get that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just on our website. So our website is testimonialhero.com, and if you go to our site, you'll see it. And yes, it's the 15 ultimate B2B testimonial interview questions, and that's the framework that we use.
Yeah, and I grabbed a copy, and yeah, it just completely makes sense. It gives you a very, very clear structure on how literally anyone could do this. So go and get it. And if they wanted to reach out and connect with you personally, Sam, where's the best? Where are you most active? Where do you like to connect?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So yeah, LinkedIn is great. And yeah, if anyone has, wants to, reach out with any specific questions, my email is sam@testimonialhero.com.
Perfect. Well, I hope a number of people that are listening do actually take you up on that offer and at least have a conversation, because seriously, the opportunities and the use cases for this, it can really not just sort of do all the things that we have spoken about and all the rest of it, but I think one of the key things, it can really simplify how you think about crafting your messaging and your marketing, because you're not sitting in front of that blank screen anymore with that blinking cursor that's kind of giving you the middle finger going, come on, write me something. You are basically using the voice of the customer as your message. And let's be honest, it's the most powerful message that you can have. So start with that, and watch things change in your business, and how much easier it becomes to craft marketing. It's the entire ethos I started my business around. I never claim to be the smartest or the best copywriter or come up with the best ideas, because I don't. I go to the people that actually have all of that, all of the knowledge, all of the the experience, the customer, and I pick their brain. And they'll tell me. And sometimes I literally will pick out their words and put it on a page or whatever it is, because it is far more effective than anything I could ever come up with. And so if you go and check out what Sam does, or if it's inspired you to go and do it yourself, then please do go and do it yourself and share it with us, and kind of give us some examples of what you've done. But if you want some help, go and check out what Sam does. So thank you ever so much, Sam. This has been an awesome episode. I've really enjoyed it, and there's so many things that people can hopefully use to grow their business. So thanks very much for your time. All that's left to say is happy fishing.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And, and if anyone has any questions, yeah, feel free to reach out. Ultimately, I think you said it best, like it's just a shortcut, right? And so good luck to everyone out there, and hopefully you can land some more customers with customer video.
Awesome. Speak soon.